want to touch on the glory of God. I need to say that I'm no expert on this whatsoever, but I have glimpsed of the glory of God from time to time. Previously, I had mentioned the time that 30 out of 33 youth went down on their knees praising and weeping before the Lord. I have a deep knowing that that had nothing to do with mankind or any anointing that any person carried. That was to do with God himself. I now know it was the glory of God. I did not know it then. God has chosen us, that is all of us Christians, and given us the privilege of serving him. And he has obviously anointed us to do what he has called. That can be different for each person, but it is a major privilege. We have seen the anointing of God so powerfully upon some people, and we have seen some of what that has done. We've seen people healed, people set free, people getting spirit-filled, etc. There is just so much that you see under those powerful times. But it is God working through man. It is still God doing it, but he has graciously chosen to work through his people. However, when the glory of God comes, it's time to step aside. It is as if God himself works directly. It is God who does it without mankind, without an anointing. Again, to quote Ruth Heflin, she says, "The glory is the realm of the eternity. It is the revelation of the presence of God. He is glory. As air is the atmosphere of earth, so glory is the atmosphere of heaven." She also says that when we worship God in spirit and truth, when that spirit of worship comes upon us, we become incredibly aware of his love. In glory, we become aware of his holiness. So I just wanted to share some of the times that we have been privileged to share this glory. I've never physically seen the glory of God, which I know that many have, but I have tasted of his glory. It is only in hindsight that I know it is his glory. Looking back, there were so many times that we experienced the glory with the youth. But I will share just two. One was the time when we were running a vacation Bible school. The way we did that was we had all our youth and some youth from other churches that would come and lead the children's classes and all of that. And we would do that in the day. We'd prepare them a weekend before, and then we'd have them all ready and good to go for the mornings. But in the evenings, we had a youth meeting, which included all our leaders, plus a whole lot of other youth. They were incredibly powerful times. One of those I remember very specifically. We had a worship team that would lead us, and that particular night they said that they were going to record the worship so that they could learn from it, which they did. That night was during worship, which was going well, but suddenly it was a different dimension. Suddenly God had stepped in a way that is and hadn't seen that often at that time. But the atmosphere changed and everything. The song sounded so amazing. It sounded like it was completely professional, flawless. Not only that, but people started going out under the power of God. People started getting set free. People started having visions. People started getting saved. Some had open visions. It was an incredible time, and we saw many lives changed forever through that time. That was the glory of God. Afterwards, the youth came and to show us the video, to give us the soundtrack that they had taped, to show us what was happening. During that time that they taped that song, literally it changed completely. There was no background noise. There was nothing. This is taping on a little old tape in the middle of a big hall. It sounded, again, flawless. Not possible in the natural. Another time, we were at a youth retreat when his glory came in the most powerful way. Now, as I've said, the glory of God is mostly connected, comes out of a time of praise and worship. Not always, but mostly. And we had a very good time of praise and worship. And suddenly God broke in, and we saw again very powerful things. People ministering to people all over. I remember one guy ran upstairs. He was an artist, and he drew the most incredible thing. Just piece of artwork. He had just gotten saved, and God gave him a revelation of how God had broken chains off the world. It was just amazing. So many things happened that night. Chantel, who was 10 years old, put her little hand through a group, and as she touched this person, they were instantly set free. Something that will mark her in a positive way forever. Just so many things happened that night. But the worship that night, the group played for 8 hours. They changed out some of the musicians, but there was no other drummer. He drummed solidly for 8 hours. And it didn't at the time seem hard. It was actually incredible. It was amazing times. Then I want to share of a time we went up to Zimbabwe. We had taken a group with us, and we went up to go and minister. And we were ministering to a group of people in Zimbabwe. There was a very poor area, and there was no house big enough to hold all the people, and there was no physical church. The people would just meet where they could. So we met outside on the street. Most of it was dirt street, and because it was fairly cold, somebody built a really nice fire to keep us warm. And I remember we were singing and dancing, and suddenly the glory of God came. I didn't again know that it was the glory of God, but it came, and people started going out in the spirit again as people touched them, or even if they didn't.